Hello, Veterans Eagles. It's Mrs. Ruffo here to read The Wild Robot Escapes with you. I'm going to share my screen so we can get started right away. Today we're going to be reading chapters 9 through 14, and it sounds like a lot, but they're actually, some of them are very quick chapters. Let's remember the last time we read that Roz just announced that she plans on escaping, which is probably why the title is called The Wild Robot Escapes. We also were told that she has a memory of Bright Bill from the first book. So robots usually, when they get reprogrammed, lose all their memory, but she still has a memory of her time on the wild island. Please remember to read out loud with me so you become a better reader. Chapter 9, The First Day. At dawn, the cows began to stir. One by one, they walked out the side door, across the muddy barnyard, and into the parlor for a quick milking before heading down to the pasture. They followed the same routine every morning, like clockwork. However, on this morning, the cows were joined by a robot. With her computer brain full of farming knowledge, Roz was ready for her first day on the job. She stomped through the tall, wet grass, and her head slowly turned as she scanned the scenery. The sun was rising, the fog was lifting, the cows were grazing, and then the whole world seemed to flip upside down. Uh-oh. Before Roz knew what was happening, she was on her back, looking up at the sky. A strong stench filled the air. Our robot had slipped on cow dung. The herd erupted into laughter. Tess called out, "Welcome to Hilltop Farm, Roz," which brought another round of snorts and moos. "You'll have to get used to cow patties and to laughter," said old Annabelle, strolling over. "Not much happens around here, so we're always eager to laugh." "I understand," said Roz. "I like laughing too." And she forced out an awkward ha ha ha. Then the robot stood up, wiped her feet, and continued exploring the farm. But she was more careful to watch where she stepped. The fields and buildings and fences were all in need of Roz's attention. But her most urgent task was to fix the broken farm machines. The herding machine was designed to roll through the pasture and look after the cows while they grazed, but it had gotten stuck in the mud and was becoming a popular hangout for birds. The field machine was gigantic, like a house on wheels. It was designed to roam the fields, planting and fertilizing and harvesting the feed crops. But it had grown to a halt weeks ago and was now just collecting dust in a far corner of the property. The drone was a small flying machine with a special camera attached to its underside. It was designed to fly above the farm and keep an eye on the whole place, but it came crashing down when a mob of crows attacked it in flight. Other broken machines were hidden within clumps of weeds, and still more were waiting for repairs in the shed. The peaceful morning was suddenly jolted by the sounds of power tools as Roz began fixing the machines. Thanks to her robotic strength and smarts, she made excellent progress. The hours flew by, the machines rumbled back to life, and the farm began buzzing with activity. Seems like Roz is doing a pretty good job so far, other than slipping on cow poop. At sunset, Rambler came bouncing down the driveway with the Sharifs in the front and Oscar in the back. "How's it going, Roz?" said Mr. Sharif, leaning out his window. The children giggled and waved from their seats. The dogs sniffed the breeze. "It is going well," said Roz in a robotic voice. "Many of the machines are working again." "I see that." Mr. Sharif gazed up at the drone circling high overhead. We thought we'd come out and check on you, but it looks like you're doing fine, so we'll stay out of your way. Keep up the good work, Roz." As the truck started rolling up the driveway, Oscar looked back at Roz and barked, "You smell like cow patties!" He was right. The robot was filthy, and she finished her first day as a farmer by scrubbing herself with soap and water. Chapter 10, The Routine. Reader, I don't want to bore you with every detail of our robot's routine. Many of her tasks were incredibly dull. Others were quite unpleasant. I'll just say that on any given day, Roz might have to be a mechanic, or a veterinarian, or a gardener, or a plumber, or a cleaner, or a landscaper, or a carpenter, or an electrician, or all of the above. Farm life kept Roz very busy indeed. Of course, she did have help. You already know about some of the machines, but the entire farm was equipped with technology that made life easier for everyone. Doors and gates opened automatically. The cows wore electronic collars that kept track of their health automatically. When a cow's udders were full, she simply had to stroll into the parlor where she'd be milked by gentle machines automatically. All that milk was piped into storage tanks and cooled and bottled automatically. Once the milk truck was loaded up, it drove away and made its deliveries automatically. Mr. Sharif managed the business side of the farm. He dealt with customers and handled money and ordered supplies, and he did it all from the comfort of his home office. Now that he had a robot to do all of the farm work, he hardly ever left the house. Roz was more content than she had ever expected to be. Most of her time was spent outdoors with animals under the wide open sky. Even while laboring in the fields, she could always stop to smell the flowers, look up at the clouds, feel the cool air drifting out from the trees. And yet Roz was living two lives. When she had the farm to herself, she could play with the calves, or run through the grass, or chat with the wildlife. But whenever the Sharifs were near, Roz had to pretend to be a normal robot. She could never let them know who she really was. Chapter 11, The Stragglers. Wild geese are known for migrating in the autumn and the spring, but exactly when a flock migrates is up to its members. Some flocks choose to fly early in the season. Others straggle far behind. And it was one of those straggling flocks that caught the attention of our robot. Honk, honk, honk. The geese were heard before they were seen. Their honking voices echoed across the farm, and then the flock appeared above the fields, flying in a wobbly V formation. They glided over the pasture and plunked down into the pond. None of them were very concerned as Roz approached. The geese had seen similar creatures on their farms, on other farms, and they knew there was nothing to fear. But they were about to learn that our robot was very different from the others. "Hello, geese," said Roz. "Welcome to Hilltop Farm." The geese froze. They stared at Roz with suspicious eyes, and then the biggest goose slowly swam over. "I've come across plenty of monsters like you," he said, "but I've never met one who could talk." "I am not a monster. I am a robot. My name is Roz." The goose scratched his head. "Well, it's nice to meet you, Roz the robot," he said at last. "My name is Wingtip, and this is my flock." Now, I can't help but wonder, fourth and going into fifth graders, do you think Roz is going to find Bright Bill? I hope so. And actually, you are third graders going into fourth grader. Do you think they're going to find Bright Bill? I hope so. Let's keep reading. Roz gave a friendly wave, and soon the flock was gathering around, curious to meet this odd character. As you can imagine, the geese were shocked to learn that Roz had a goose for a son. They asked her all kinds of questions about Brightbill, and about her old life on the island, and about her new life on the farm. Then Roz asked them a question of her own. Do you think Brightbill's flock would ever come this way on their migration? Doubtful, said Wingtip. It sounds like his flock takes the eastern flyways. They'd never come this far west. The robot slumped with disappointment. However, we geese are full of surprises, added Wingtip. I'll promise you this, Roz. If we ever meet Bright Bill, we'll point him in your direction. The talk was interrupted by giggling and barking. The children were taking their dog for a walk. Roz couldn't be seen chatting with geese, so she whispered a quick goodbye to her new friends and went back to work. And when she looked down at the pond later that day, she saw that the flock was gone. Chapter 12. The Homesick Robot. We all feel homesick at one time or another. Even the robot felt something like homesickness. Roz belonged with her son and her friends on her island. She was determined to find her way back there. But how? If the robot was seen doing anything unusual, Mr. Sharif might have her destroyed. Roz had to be careful. So she calmly went about her farm work, day in and day out. But all the while, the homesick robot was secretly planning her escape. Chapter 13. The Electronic Signal. Beep, 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 beep. A message was flashing on Roz's computer. The drone was reporting that gusty winds had sent it spiraling into the neighbor's bean field. So the robot grabbed the big heavy toolbox and marched out to clean up the mess. Roz found the flying machine upside down with its landing gear poking above the rows of leafy plants. It had some scrapes and scratches, but no major damage. She flipped it over, brushed it off, and tightened a few screws. Then she said, "Return to Hilltop Farm." The engine started buzzing, and the machine lifted off the ground and flew home. As Roz marched back, she cut through a strip of forest that separated the two farms. There were trees and ferns, and rocks and shrubs, and small forest animals. It was a little piece of wilderness, and suddenly the robot was thinking of that wild island she missed so much. Someday she would try to run away and return to her true home. Was this the moment for her escape? Could it be as easy as sneaking off through these trees? No, it couldn't be that easy. Ahead on the other side of the trees, Mr. Sharif was sitting in his pickup truck, watching Roz. Because of the robot's electronic signal, he knew she had stepped off the property, and he had raced out there to see what she was up to. Roz marched over to the truck, and Mr. Sharif leaned out his window. He had a serious expression on his face. "Don't ever leave the property without my permission, understand?" "I understand," said Roz. She understood all right. She understood that she was always being watched. She understood that she was trapped on Hilltop Farm. Oh no. This is the last chapter and last page for today. Read with me. You can do it. Chapter 14, The Sad Truth. That night, while everyone was sleeping, Roz stayed up with her computer and researched sneaky subjects. She looked for diagrams of her own body and for maps of the area and for any news that might help her escape. But the robot found nothing. The computer only let her access information about farming. She was cut off from the outside world. It was clear that if Roz wanted to escape from her new life, she would need help. But the cows didn't know how to escape, and Mr. Sharif would never let his robot leave. Who would possibly help Roz run away from the farm? Any ideas, future fourth graders, who might help Roz run away from the farm? Maybe you can write on a little post-it note or a piece of paper. Or even send me a message on Parent Square. Tell me what you think. Who could possibly help Roz run away from the farm? I'll see you next time. And before I say goodbye, let's give a shout out to these readers: Eliani, Nora, Kaden, and Callan. I hope you're all having a great summer. Happy reading. Bye.